Well, hey, hello, and thank you for watching WIN TV's Let's Talk, where we continue to celebrate diversity, amplify essential voices, and talk about the issues that matter, especially to us in the Black community. I'm your host, Denise Rollard Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, and today we have a remarkable lineup of guests ready to share their unique perspectives and inspiring stories. This episode is a true testament to the power of representation, resilience, and progress. I hope you've had a chance to pick up this week's issue of the Washington Informer. As you know, you can pick it up at newsstands all across the city. And I want to say that this week we've got a special insert for you. It's our salute, actually, to the Congressional Black Caucus. As you know, the CBC Congressional Black Caucus Foundation will hold their annual legislative weekend next week here in Washington, D.C. at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. And this will give you a sneak preview of what's coming next week. And maybe you'll be able to get over to the Convention Center to participate in the extremely informative, educational, and thought-provoking lineup of workshops and other events that are going to take place there this week. So make sure you pick up the Washington Informer today. As you know, it's free on newsstands, and you can go to WashingtonInformer.com. That's www.washingtoninformer.com. You can read the publication online, and you'll also have access to the special edition that we published this week for in honor of the Congressional Black Caucus, the 52nd annual legislative weekend. Please be sure to click like and share this broadcast on your social media platforms, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. And to keep up with the latest news and events in the DMV, subscribe to the Washington Informer Network at Washington Informer TV. That's on YouTube, Washington Informer TV, no spaces, one word, Washington Informer TV. We'd love for you to subscribe, follow us. I want to thank all of you all who've been watching the show, who've been sharing it with everyone, and for going online and signing up for our digital edition and for our WIN Daily newsletter that goes out daily. We really appreciate your support. We hope we're providing the kind of news that you want, and we want you to share with us. You can send us any information that you'd like. If there are events that you want us to cover, stories that you want to share, reach out to us at news, N-E-W with an S, N-E-W-S, at WashingtonInformer.com. So today, like I said, we have a very inspiring show. I'm very excited that our first segment will be brought to you from the publisher of W.I. Bridge. I'm a proud mom, and my son, Raphael Barnes, will be bringing on a real interesting creative here in Washington, D.C. He'll be talking to Pay X of Legacy D.C. about their end of summer community cleanup, which is happening on Sunday, September the 17th. We will dive into the vibrant world of DC theater, where the magic happens, and how DC is first in award-winning theater on the national stage. So joining us to talk about the significance of Theater Week is Reginald Douglas, artistic director of Mosaic Theater, and he's going to share with us DC Theater Week and some other highlights about DC theater. Shaylo Doran, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, and they will let me know if I haven't, founder of Black Women Invest, is joining us today to discuss her group's expansion to the District of Columbia and how they're helping Black women become knowledgeable about stocks and the importance of having an investment portfolio. And I'm going to tell you, I saw something the other day. Any of these financial education programs are important for us to get involved in, because we can be the first teachers to our children about the importance of investing in stocks and all that. So we've got to learn it first so we can pass it on to them. And we will also talk to an incredibly talented illustrator and artist, Maurice Andreas, who will tell us about his creative journey and diversity in illustrations and how art captures and communicates emotions that words often fail to express. Our Prince George's County reporter, Richard Elliott, We'll talk to Dwayne Sims, founder of the Negro League Legends Hall of Fame. And finally, we will step into the world of politics with Reverend Raphael Warnock, the United States Senator representing the state of Georgia, who will be interviewed by Washington Informer senior reporter Stacey Brown and contributing writer Austin Cooper. They met with him earlier this week. It's a recorded interview, and they'll talk about Warnock's term in the U.S. Senate. And there's a lot that he went through to get there and to stay there. So he'll talk a little bit about that, as well as the upcoming 52nd annual Congressional Black Caucus Legislative Weekend. So I told you we have a packed show. I will not belabor our introduction. I hope you find something useful in our broadcast. So right now we're going to turn to Curtis Knowles, who actually will do our weekly news broadcast. Curtis?
This is Win TV News, bringing you the news that matters. Chuck Todd has hosted his final episode of NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday, handing the reins over to White House correspondent Kristen Welker, who will make history as the first Black person to host the iconic program. The 47-year-old Philadelphia native has served as a White House correspondent for NBC since 2011 and has moderated one of the presidential debates in 2020. This week, NBC's Andrea Mitchell marked the historic passing of the baton with an op-ed writing, quote, "On September 17th, another milestone will be passed for women journalists. Kristen Welker is set to become the 13th moderator of Meet the Press, the longest-running show on American television." The Foundation for the Advancement of Music and Education, or FAME, celebrated the grand opening of its new music training studio on Saturday in Harmony Hall in Fort Washington on September 7th. FAME, a nonprofit organization committed to ensuring equal access to quality music education for all children and young adults, irrespective of their social or economic circumstances, holds music as a key element in shaping character and nurturing a new generation of leaders for the nation. Founder and CEO of FAME, Tony Lewis, expressed her long-awaited excitement, saying, quote, "This location answers to calls from communities to provide FAME's programming to neighborhoods where public transportation and access to out-of-school activities are limited." During its September 6th session, the Prince George's County Council voted unanimously to enact legislation requiring gas stations to prominently display credit card prices on their signs. The measure was authored by Councilmember Edward Burrows III. In a statement, Burrows said the bill was about protecting consumers, and the bill will take effect 45 calendar days after it becomes law. Convenience stores and gas stations presently in operation have a full year from the effective date of the legislation to comply. Non-compliant convenience stores and gas stations after a grace period shall be charged a civil monetary fine of $100 for the first offense, $250 for the second, $500 for the third, and $1,000 for every subsequent offense every calendar year.
Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that. And now we're going to move on. It's my pleasure to bring on Lafayette Barnes, publisher of WI Bridge, DC. Lafayette, welcome to Win TV.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And I keep calling it Win TV. You know, we decided to come up with a new name called Let's Talk. And
okay, well, let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk. And just for a real quick second, you know, that was the title of the column that your grandfather wrote in the Washington Informer when it started in 1964. And wow. So we thought, well, what an ideal name to call the show. So anyway, it's time for you to talk with Pay X. I'm going to throw it to you and take it from here.
All right. All right. Today we have a great guest, Mr. Pay X, that's joined us today. We work together a bit in the DMV creative community, and a lot of people know you as a DJ and, you know, in the music industry, but you're also a partner at the I-71 compliant based cultural hub, Legacy DC. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, appreciate it, Lafayette, and everybody, the whole team with the Washington Informer. I appreciate you all having me on board. But yeah, Legacy DC, we're right in the smack dab middle of the city, 14th and U, 1937 14th Street. We specialize in street art, digital art, as well as graffiti art. And we're definitely, our main focus is our music art. Of course, because we are I-71 compliant cannabis, but the C is also interchangeable for community and culture. So those are our focuses over at Legacy.
Awesome. So a lot of people don't understand I-71. Could you just explain what that is really quickly?
Yeah, it's like just short and sweet. It's the ability to be able to gift cannabis with the purchase of digital art or a hat or a T-shirt or something of that nature.
That's great. I know it's a lot of people, who are having trouble in that world. And I think that, this has created a safe space for people, and also you guys are doing a great job of, celebrating art and culture in DC, and,
Thank you.
combining those efforts.
Yeah,
So what's your
y'all too.
favorite part about being involved with Legacy?
My favorite part, honestly, man, is being a kid, and just being like a hip hop kid, in all aspects of hip hop. I enjoyed graffiti growing up. I enjoyed just being able to watch people break dance. I was enjoying just all elements of hip hop, from DJing, of course, to rapping and spoken word and call and response. And to be able to see like all those elements as a kid, to become into like this one company and be able to give that back to our community is like my favorite part. It gets me up every day.
Awesome. So today we're here to talk about something that you guys are doing at Legacy DC, which is a community cleanup, which will be
Yeah.
happening this weekend. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Sunday, September 17th, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m., we'll be meeting at the corner of 14th and U Street, to be able to go down to 11th Street, and just picking up trash, just trying to clean up the community. One thing about the weekends on U Street is it gets, definitely a little wild after a certain time, and there's things that's left over, in the street in the morning, and us as business owners and patrons. And just, I live in the neighborhood as well. So just being able to wake up and, see a jumbo slice box out or something like that, it's just better, especially on a Sunday. We have so many families out in the neighborhood. It's just better if we just come together as a neighborhood and clean up the streets before it gets a little too busy in the neighborhood.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it keeps the community safe,
For sure.
brings up morale. So that's a great thing you guys are doing. How long have you been doing these cleanups, and what inspired you all to want to get involved in that?
Yeah, so I mean, we've been open for about 2 years, and one of our first things we wanted to do is make an impact in the community and kind of introduce ourselves to our neighbors and other businesses around us. And we thought it would be great if we did a community cleanup. So we tried to do it like monthly, and we just saw that it was kind of like a task. So we try to do it, bi-monthly now, like every other month. And we're working on keeping that up. Right now, it's been quarterly, so we're trying to bring it back to every other month, and that's why we got the help from some of the businesses in the community, like the Commonwealth, DeLorean, and of course Topo Chico, always helping us out. So with their help, we'll be able to keep this up.
Yeah, shout out Topo Chico. I've seen them a lot in the community, and you can't beat the sparkling water over there. So
Nah,
great partner. Even if I come pick up some trash, I'm definitely gonna want a Topo Chico in exchange.
Exactly.
And
Give me
you
the
also
one with
mentioned
the
some of your
lime twist.
Yeah, that lime one is amazing. You mentioned some of the community partners like Commonwealth or
Yes.
DeLorean. How did you guys approach them, and how did they end up getting involved?
We have a strong relationship with both brands, just by just being in the neighborhood, and also the guys over at Commonwealth, Tom, Jerome Baker the third, all those cats over there. They're really been really like mentors to me, and they've always just had an open door policy for not only myself but my friends and the business, all the patrons, the legacy, whoever, and so I've seen you there a couple of times, Lafayette. Like it's kind of like one of those other community, central hubs for anything creative, anything fly. Yeah, so they just by us just being in the neighborhood, talking to them, me being an avid customer, we just built a really good rapport, and they've been able to help us out any way they can amongst this event, amongst other events.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Good to see, folks linking up. They try to say young people are always up to no good. And,
Right.
I think you guys are showing that there's some balance there in that world. And so,
Yeah,
the
for
community
sure.
cleanup is an amazing event. It's something that will be helpful for the community. I'm very, glad to be able to talk to you about that. But I know Legacy also has a lot of other events, music programming and, arts
Yes.
programming. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. I'll gladly do it. So we have a couple more events coming up. We have a event September 28th. It's an art show of an artist named Soviet. It's going to be great, great, great. She's a great artist. And I'm super excited to host some of her great pieces and installations here in Legacy in the shop. We have two music series that we do, which is the Showtime at Legacy. Very intimate, live music, live band setting. And it's one of those. It feels like you're in a speakeasy. We transform our whole our first floor and our gallery floor into it being more like a concert hall. We bring out seats or anything, or you could stand wherever you want to do. And that's going to be at the end of this month on the September 27th, which I'm super excited about. And then we have some great events coming up as well. We just had the Sasha Marie event, which is a part of our other series called Return of the Mac, which was great. At Mama San, which was the basement of Harlot's old Bohemian Cabin. So just bringing great music events, art shows, community outreach programs, anything that we can do to kind of like bring people together. That's what we're all about.
Certainly. Yeah, I was actually fortunate to be able to attend your last Showtime at Legacy featuring Wes Felton, who's a mover and shaker
Legend.
and an OG in the community. And that was a great show. So anybody who's in the audience that's looking to, see some live music, some real authentic DC sounds, I definitely recommend you check out Showtime at Legacy on September 27th. So, I think, we've broken down, pretty much what Legacy is, what type of programming you do. And we've talked about the community cleanup, which is, the main reason that we're here today. How can people keep up with Legacy DC and find out about more of what's going on?
Yeah, no doubt. So we're heavy on social media. Our Instagram is right there, my name right there, the.legacy.dc. Feel free to follow, as well as sign up for our newsletter that we drop Mondays as well as Fridays of every week. Just kind of giving you an overview on our deals as well as upcoming events and anything we want to spotlight in the neighborhood. So best way is just to follow us on IG and sign up for our newsletter.
Awesome. And I will just reiterate that, being on that newsletter, those deals are pretty good. I was talking to a friend yesterday who was like, man, I still got the scoop on from 2 weeks ago, like I got the hookup, so definitely want to get those deals, save some money as the economy gets a little tighter. So, just before we end the segment, let's just, double down on the info for the cleanup. Can you just remind everybody when, where, and how to sign up?
I appreciate that, Lafayette. So yeah, it's Sunday, September 17th, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. You can RSVP amongst the Eventbrite. Just look up Legacy DC. It should pop up. But we also have the link on our IG, which is again at the.legacy.dc. And yeah, can't wait to see you all. 10 a.m.
I can't wait. I will be at A Street Festival, but I will tell all my friends who aren't going to be there to come check it out. And actually, it's probably a good pre-A Street Festival, before you start, becoming an A Street junkie, you can go and do some good, No,
most definitely. Yeah. You're a busy man, though. You're a busy man, hardest working man in show business. So I appreciate you taking out the time right now to have me on. I appreciate it.
Certainly. It was a pleasure. Well, that's all for today. Let's thank you for speaking with us, and good luck on the event. Hope you have a successful community cleanup. And I'm gonna segment back over to my mother.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, Pei. It was great. And Lafayette, don't go away yet. I know that the next issue of The Bridge is coming up in a couple of weeks. Any sneak preview you can give us of what will be in that issue?
So, The Bridge has been focusing on some of what I would say the most sort of impactful underground movements in the art and fashion, culture, and music industries in DC. And this month we are not slowing down. We will be covering a local boutique, which I won't reveal the name of. You'll see it, when the edition comes out. We will be covering a local boutique that features a lot of local artists. So it's almost like Macy's or like Neiman's or Nordstrom or something like that for local fashion designers. So they have 10 plus designers, and they've done pop-ups over the course of the summer, and we hope to be able to support them going forward. So just stay on top of that. You can check us out online at wibridgedc.com, which you can see in my nameplate right here on the screen, and follow us on IG at the same thing, wibridgedc. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I can't wait. Now you got me sitting on the edge of my seat trying to figure out who this is. So I look forward to seeing that. And people can pick up a copy of The Bridge in the last week of September. It's published every month in the Washington Informer and is available at certain locations throughout the city. You want to name a couple of places where they can get The Bridge?
Yep. Well, you can look on our website, wibridgedc.com, to see our distribution map. But some of my favorite places to pick up The Bridge would be at Somewhere DC. There's a Somewhere located in Union Market, as well as one on First Street Southeast near the Nat Stadium. They're a great cultural hub also. And you can also pick it up at Legacy DC. So, just check our website for your closest distributions drop off. And feel free to DM us or email us if you have any questions or any, interesting topics or stories you think that we should cover.
And you can get it here at the Washington Informer on Martin Luther King Avenue in Southeast. I'm going to let you go. Thank you so very much for introducing us to Pay. And we look forward to hearing more. Oh, I forgot. You mentioned you're going to be at the H Street Festival tomorrow.
Yes. We'll be at the H Street Festival tomorrow. Our booth number, I believe, is 811. So I'm not sure where that is as far as on the strip, but, come and find us. We will be outside all day. We will have a booth where, we can answer your questions about how to get involved in the Informer, or, like I said, if you have any stories or topics or anything interesting in your community that you think you would like to have us, to look into or discuss, we'll be there to take your feedback, as well as give you, the most recent newspaper and any other giveaways or merch or surprises that will be available. So check us out tomorrow from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. On H Street at the H Street Festival. It would be a great time.
All right. Now I'll let you go. Thanks much. Okay, we're going to bring on Reginald Douglas now. He's the artistic director of Mosaic Theater and a board member of Theater Week DC. Reginald, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Same to you. I'm so glad you all have a busy week coming up next week. And so I'm so glad that you could take a few minutes to talk to us today. Tell us a little bit about you. Then we'll talk about Theater Week.
Well, sure. I'm the artistic director of Mosaic Theater. We currently perform at the Atlas Performing Arts Center on 8th Street. So we'll be around 8th Street Fest as well. And our current production is called Monumental Travesties. It's a really exciting, fun comedy by DC's own hip hop theater artist, Samayani 24. And it takes a provocative look at the Emancipation Memorial in Capitol Hill. So that statue that has Archie Alexander kneeling down in a loincloth, a freed slave, but then Abraham looking really presidential and stately. Sam has been troubled by that statue and its depiction of freedom or the lack thereof. And so he reimagines it in a really exciting, fun way. And we're thrilled to welcome audiences to that show now until October 8th.
Well, I sat in a seat Sunday.
Yes, we're so glad you could make it.
Yeah, so it's I won't tell anybody, but you got to go see it. So it's really interesting. So thanks a lot. I mean, tell us now about Theater Week. I went to the press conference yesterday.
I saw you yesterday as well.
Looks like it's going to be a great week. Great discount tickets, great theater.
It is. It's a celebration of DC theater. So Theater Washington, we're committed to bringing together all of the different theater companies in DC, from Mosaic to Ford's to Arena Stage to Shakespeare Theater and everything in between. And Theater Week, which runs September 21st through October 8th, allows everybody to buy $20 tickets, $40 tickets, or $60 tickets. So really good discounts. And you can see musicals, plays, concerts, classics, new work, everything. And it kicks off on Saturday, September 23rd at Arena Stage with the Kickoff Fest, where all the theaters, over 50 theaters in one room, ready to meet audiences and tell them about the great work that's happening in DC.
I am just amazed. And I kind of raised that question yesterday. I underestimated. I said 40 theaters. But, at the explosion of theater in Washington, D.C., I mean, what is your response to that? What do you think that's happened to make theater so, such a mainstay now in such a receptive audience for it?
That's right. We do have a great audience here in DC. I think our audiences are curious. We are a politically minded city and community. And we also want to be entertained. And I think DC theater, we have some of the best artists working and living here. It's livable, more than New York can be, more than LA can be. But our plays that start here, like A Strange Loop, that won the Pulitzer and the Tony Award for Best Musical, it started at Woolly Mammoth and then went to Broadway. So we're also an incubator for great new work like Psalms play, Mindful Travesty, Strange Loop. Ford's Theater has a world premiere play by Pearl Cleage, one of our most exciting Black playwrights. So DC is a hub. We are a central place for great artists and great audiences. And I think things like Theater Week allow people to really go, wow, there's more here than I thought.
Yeah.
To see a new company you've never checked out before, to come over to 8th Street and check out Mosaic, or to go to Arlington and see Signature Theater, or go out to Only Theater. You can see things and give it a try at a really good discount rate. So I hope that people come out. And I like to say it's like Pringles, once you pop, you can't stop. So we hope that you give us a try, and check out some local theater, and then come back and see all the great work that's happening throughout the year.
I want you also, Reggie, to talk about A Stage of Their Own, this tribute to DC's early Black women performers. I really am intrigued about that.
I'm so excited about this. Shelley Hainsworth of Black Broadway on You. It's a really exciting event that she's putting together. It's a tribute to the pioneering Black women performers and playwrights here in DC. So before Broadway, before the Great White Way, we were doing it here in DC on U Street. Cab Calloway, Pearl Bailey, these legends that go untalked about, we're going to give them their spotlight back. And so you'll have the chance to really have an interactive multimedia exhibit where you can meet these trailblazers, learn about their work. These are names you may not remember, but names you need to know. And so I'm glad that Theater Washington and Theater Week is going to highlight the history of Black theater here in DC, because Chocolate City will always be DC. And this allows us to remember our history and celebrate it. And that's going to be running October 5th through October 8th at the Whitman Walker Liz over in Logan Circle on 14th Street.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I like the way that the press conference opened yesterday, talking about even the location, the land that we're on,
right.
And then recognizing folks. I'm beginning to feel like I'm getting old now, because I remember some of those people. And I certainly do. You're talking about U Street. We've had a lot of conversations about U Street today. So, I mean, so much of our history is just rooted in that
That's
area.
Right.
So, tell us again about, how people can get involved, how they can get tickets.
Yes, you can go to theaterweek.org. So that's THEATRE week.org. And Today Tix is our ticketing partner. So when you go to Today Tix, you can get the app, you can go to the website. That's Today, and then TIX. You can get those $20, $40, $60 tickets. And the Theater Week website is awesome. The team has done a great job, led by wonderful CEO Amy Austin. All of the information in one comprehensive list. You can find out about the bike ride, the walking tour, the kickoff fest, all the productions that are happening. And of course, the tribute to DC's Black women performers and playwrights, A Stage of Their Own. All of that in one place, theaterweek.org.
Before I let you go, I mentioned to Amy, I said, once upon a time, I remember the DC Black Rep, Robert Wilson started that. And there was always this cry, right, for Black theater, a Black theater company, Black theater. And someone said, well, Mosaic is sort of filling that void, But, tell us a little bit about Mosaic Theater and any performances you all have coming up soon.
Well, I appreciate that, because, I stand on the shoulders of those pioneers, like the wonderful Jennifer Nelson, one of our founding artistic leaders at Mosaic. We believe in a Mosaic. We believe in cross-cultural theater, that bringing different perspectives and communities together to share a story is vital, especially for a city like DC. We think about the intersections that bring us together. That's the kind of work we want to make. And Monumental Travesties, directed by this Black man, written by Salma Haney 24. And I'm super excited to share the next production is two-time Tony nominee, Detroit native Dominique Morisseau, making her Mosaic Theater debut, directed by Story Ayers, who's from DC too. So we're bringing DC talent home. Confederates, Confederates, Confederates. You will not want to miss this play. It's a celebration of Black women who are on the front lines of freedom, both now and back in history, and how we must, again, amplify and celebrate the Black women who have been on the front lines of freedom and share their stories. And so that's the work we're up to at Mosaic, work that centers community, work that celebrates artists of all races and welcomes audiences of all races to share a story, and work that catalyzes conversation.
Well, I said, since I haven't had a chance to take any big trips this year and I don't have anything lined up, that I think I will just take big trips at the theater. That was my choice. Yes. I'm going to go to see as many plays as I can. And it looks like I picked a great theater season to do that with all the lineup of shows that I've been hearing about. So, wow.
I'm excited for you to see Confederates. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Okay, I'll be there. I'll definitely be there.
That's going to be this October 26th through November 19th. So we'll make sure we have a ticket for you, Denise.
Oh, wonderful. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Success, and keep us engaged. We're trying to get young people. Someone talked about that, making sure we get the young people into the theater. They're seniors. Older folks now who I'm going to be one of those whose second career, may be on a stage someplace. And so, we want to talk about theater education and
definitely.
training.
Well, that's very important to us. We have an intergenerational matinee program where we bring high school students and seniors together to see plays on Thursday mornings. And we kicked it off last year with the Till Trilogy, and we're doing it again for Confederates. So Thursdays at 11 a.m., you can get a discounted ticket. All seniors are welcome, and we also have high schoolers coming. So we're bringing the generations into one room to engage with stories that speak the truth of our history so that we can all imagine our future. That's our goal.
Engaging and smart. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here with us, Reginald Douglas, Artistic Director of Mosaic Theater. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you at Theater Week.
Okay. So, we got a lot. We were trying to stay on schedule, and I think everybody's just had such exciting things to share with us. And we will not stop now because we've got Shaylo Doran, founder of Black Women Invest. Shaylo, are you with us? Okay, it looks like she's not. So we're going to have to get her on at another time. So that gives us a little bit more time to talk to Maurice Andress. Maurice, you there?
Hi.
Oh, there you are, Shaylo. Yeah, you are there.
Sorry, there's a small lag. How's it going?
No problem. So glad to see you. Now, make sure I pronounce your name properly.
Yes, you're very close. It's Shaylo Doran.
Shaylo. I love it. And so you are founder of Black Women Invest, right?
Yes.
So we're going to talk about investing today because we've got a short segment, but we want to get as much in as we can. One, why did you start this initiative or this program? And why do you think it's important for women to invest?
Yeah. So I started Black Women Invest in 2019, initially because I was looking for friends who were in the same space. So as I was growing in my investment journey, I figured there must be other women who are also looking into investing or, were in the space. I myself had been working, I've been working in the real estate investment space since 2015. So it's been some time. And during that time, I would attend different conferences and go to events. And I noticed right away that there was a lack of Black women in the room. So after years of experiencing this was my reach to find other women who had interest in it.
And how has that search been? And how has that search been?
Well, yeah, the group itself has grown quite a bit. So in the search, I started a Facebook group, right? Started it off where there was a few hundred people. And in the beginning of 2020, there was about 300 people who were a part of the Facebook group. And by May of 2020, we grew to 5,000. Wow. And I think, just by the sounds of the dates, you can tell what happened when COVID-19 came into the picture. a lot of people started to realize that they absolutely needed another stream of income. It became very apparent when people were losing their jobs and they realized that they were no longer a necessity within their place of employment. And so it was a wake-up call for a lot of women. And this was an opportunity for people to now basically start to make money work for themselves. So it's grown quite a bit. We now have over 13,000 members around the country, or really around the world, who are a part of our community. And we also have in-person chapter meetings. We are launching one here in the DMV soon. So the search has been amazing, or the journey has been amazing. And I'm telling you, there's no lack of Black women who are in the investment space or interested in investments. And it's also an amazing opportunity to encourage women who may not necessarily believe that they are that this is for them, or that they have the ability to invest. So we've grown, we've grown quite a bit, and really our mission is to continue to impact people. Our goal, actually, our mission is to impact 1 million Black women, to help them become strong investors.
I'm making a pitch here. In a couple of weeks, we will be publishing our annual financial literacy issue. And we certainly would like to sort of repeat what we're saying in this interview in that issue. And so I'll be reaching out to you to get that story done. And the primary reason I'm going to tell you, Shaylo, is the fact that as a news organization, we consistently hear from financial institutions, from other, what they like to call mainstream media and what have you, that Black people are not investing. I mean, we continue to hear the negative part about, our lack of financial literacy, our inability to purchase real estate. I mean, it's always what we can't do. And you seem to be giving us an example of just the opposite. And so I praise you for that, and opening those doors. Tell us, though, sometimes taking that first step, which doesn't seem to be the case. You're seeming to, blow away that theory as well. But taking that first step may be one that, folks have trepidation about. So if you could talk about how to get involved in the whole investment journey, what are 3 tips that you would give women?
Mm-hmm. Man, I have way more than 3 tips, first of all.
I'm sure.
So I think it's important to surround yourself around the right people. This is why the community was created. We hear the statistics. You make the average amount of the 5 closest friends around you. I would even say that your life reflects, what these people are doing just all around. It's not just about making money. You have 5 friends who are single and you wonder why you're single. In so many ways, we tend to need a new crowd around us, a lot of people. So I think the first step really is to put yourself in a place where you can learn and you can grow. And so find people who are also interested and who are having these conversations, because there's going to be so many different angles within investing that you can find yourself in. When I started, I went through the real estate investment route, and I learned that I can invest in real estate without owning a property, right? How would I have known this had I not been around the right people? Mm-hmm. So I think that should be like step 1. And then also keeping in mind, so step 1A or B, keeping in mind that investing doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone. So when people talk about investing, typically we think about stocks, we think about the candlesticks and the ups and the downs, but it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the route you have to take. So there is real estate investing, and there is long-term passive investing as well. So you definitely want to keep in mind that there's no one way, one route for everyone. So I would say all of that would be like a 1 to 2. But then when you actually start to get into the investment piece, you want to start thinking about things like, what is my actual goal, right? You want to come into this with a plan. I had a woman who was in retirement age who joined our community, and she wanted to continue investing into the stock market. And when we took a look at what her overall goals were, in terms of timeline, in terms of income, we realized that the best thing for her to do is to actually convert her basement into a living quarters and rent it out. And that's exactly what she did. So, she's in this stage and realized this is a possibility for her. So now she rents it out to travel nurses, and she is making a profit from it. So the route can be very different for people. So make sure you come into this with a plan. And I think the final thing is probably just understanding what your risk tolerance level is, because that's going to help you determine what type of investments you actually get into. So for many people, real estate is too risky, right? Because of maybe their past experience or whatever it may be that they feel uncomfortable with. So getting into something that's a little bit more, or they're a little bit less hands-on, such as like index fund investing, may make more sense. So you want to ask yourself certain questions to make sure that you know what your risk tolerance level is. You want to reflect on how would you react if you were to lose a significant amount of money on your investments, or how do you feel about market volatility? So ask yourself these questions and similar questions, and it'll kind of help you in preparing for investing. So it's a pretty long-winded answer, but those are the steps I would say to people.
Yeah, great tips, great tips. So I want you to briefly tell us about the Vision of Wealth event that's coming up on Tuesday, and whatever you can tell us about that in about 30 seconds.
Oh, yes. So we have a brunch actually happening this Saturday, and we are completely filled. We have no seats left, but there's going to be over 200 Black women in the room. And this is an event, a brunch that we do quite often throughout the country. But we are going to be connecting again next month. So you can find that information on on blackwomeninvest.com/DC.
Okay.
And people will be able to join and participate in our local chapter.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. I really want to thank you for taking some time to talk with us today, to share this information that allows particularly women to invest in themselves. And again, we look forward to talking to you some more so we can share this information in our financial literacy issue that will be coming up in October. So congratulations to you. And thank you so very much for not being selfish with what you've learned, that you're sharing it with the rest of us.
Yes, we can't be gatekeepers anymore. We have to share it. So thank you for having me.
Sure, my pleasure. All right. Have a great day. We are going to move on now to talk about, we're talking about art, we're talking about investing. It's like I said, we've got a lot of great guests on today, and I certainly want to move this show forward because I want to talk to Maurice Andres, who is an illustrator and artist, who's also sharing his gifts with us. I think we have, Maurice, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So again, my name is Maurice Andreas. I go by the name Ice artistically. I have a wide range of abilities that I just love to explore and play with. I'm just really a kid that likes to paint.
And I'm gonna tell you something that may be offensive, but my daddy used to say, whatever you do, Denny, you don't want to marry an artist. I'm like, why?
Wow.
Because they're always poor.
We're doing great. Great people. We have a great conversation. We're fun. We love colors. We love to play with the environment. There's beautiful things around me.
Yeah, and so and today, because so much of everything we do is based in images,
Yes.
And so I think you've been a real player in that field, in making sure that you can turn simple things like the art behind you, concepts, into real art. So, and we talked about this a little earlier when you were growing up and you told your folks you wanted to be an artist. What was their response?
Their response was to go for it. I was raised in a very nurturing household, in the sense that, if I wanted to do something, I was allowed to do it. And more importantly, I was encouraged to do so. But while that was the case, I was also encouraged to be smart and
intelligent and plan things, and this is something that every parent, or my parents at least, very strongly emphasized in me.
So tell me a little bit more about, your, I don't know what to call it, but the different forms of art that you produce.
Right. So, painting, obviously, but it's primarily all throughout the realm of visual art as well as sometimes performing art. I've done animations, which is, a series of singular images, paintings, art shows, fashion design, technical illustration. There's commercial art, there's production art, things that I make for others, and things that I'm making to express myself.
What's your favorite form of art to create? I know it's hard. It's like, which one is your favorite child, but
it's impossible to say. I don't think, honestly, I could choose right now. It's really just a matter of what possesses me at the moment. For instance, these 3 paintings were painted in about the series of 3 or 4 weeks. I'll have episodes where I'm very much enthused or inspired to paint or to create in a specific way, whether that's I'm designing a bunch of clothes, or I'm working on a comic book, or making a cartoon, or again, like if I'm just making a bunch of paintings that week. It sounds like it's really just a matter of what's the most fun at the moment.
It's fun, but there's an inspiration. You said you're inspired to do certain. What kinds of things inspire you or inspire certain kinds of art?
I'm really inspired by just growth and exploration in general. I'm not so much inspired by or beholden to any like medium or art field or even style. It's more so just about what would be the best way to express this concept. What would be the most interesting way to play with this color? I'm just trying to have fun at the end of the day and explore as many avenues of art as possible.
That's amazing. And, one of the things that I think about, too, is, those of us in the newspaper industry, one of the dying arts that we're finding is people who do political cartoons, political cartoonists. I know the gentleman that we had just recently retired. I talked to publishers all across the country. They're not finding people who are willing to provide that. And actually, there's always been an absence of Black artists in that field. Have you ever explored that? And what has been your experience?
My personal experience, I would say, isn't entirely too in depth with that regard. What I like to do, or rather what I found myself doing, it's a lot of the time, it's more of a second nature than a decision on my part. I found myself just describing the events that I had seen, whether that was the Derek Chauvin trial and everything that had happened during the Black Lives Matter movement. But it was even further than that, just my experience as a Black man, as a Black person, as a Black human with history in this, this culture, this country. And that's something I still maintain and something I still work on in my work today. So whether it's, cartoons or political illustrations or an animation or a film regarding, Black history and artists that may not be well known.
Where were you trained? Did you go to school or to learn or to? You probably already had the skill, but to,
No, what I'll always say is school was very important to me. Even as an artist going to school for art, sometimes it can seem, well, I can draw, I have the skill, I can just move on that way. I learned a lot when I went to university. I went to Bowie State for a little bit, and basically what I learned there not only was diligence, but also the ability to, practice what I learned in terms of art history and even stylistically how I could explore different mediums, how I could utilize different skills. That was really my biggest takeaway, and it's something that I really hold on to.
And have you exhibited any of your art?
Yes, I've done plenty of exhibitions. I was in Fashion Week once. We've done, what else have I done? I've done a number of art shows. I've done pop-ups. I'm looking forward to doing many more in the future as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you have those pieces behind you. We wanted to actually share more of your work with our audience, but we can do that. Oh, we do have, I think, something here that Chevry's going to share. Again, that's one of the pieces behind you. Can you explain what these are?
So, right, these are the big figures. Each one of them is an exploration in monochromatic space dilation. It's really just a matter of using one color and then white to simulate white light, and that creates mass and things of that nature. Current events is another piece that I was working on, or a series of pieces that I was working on, each one of which was about a particular topic. So TikTok, Bitcoin was another one, all about things that were currently going on during that time period. And just using an image to sort of, like Andy Warhol using pop art, sort of encapsulate the tone of that thing. Big Step is the first and the initial exploration I did into this thesis, again, using monochrome. Also, there's a recurring theme of, like I said, scale and perspective, but also if you look closely at each one of them, there's an eye right here, as you can see the iris and the pupil.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And again, all these are also available for viewing on my Instagram and my website.
Wonderful. And so let's put that up. We want to make sure that people get. Oh, okay. So we've
actually, yeah. Sorry, this is the political art. But
okay,
yeah.
Wonderful. So where can you said on our Instagram? We're going to post that.
Yes.
I'm sure has that to post to the bottom. But if not, can you just tell? Oh, there we go. Okay.
There we go. Endless everywhere.
All right. Wonderful. So you've been doing this professionally for how long?
Ooh, you're gonna date me a little bit. It's been about 10 years, I want to say, give or take.
I missed the number. How many years?
12, we'll say.
All right, no, you're just starting out. You still do. It's wonderful. It's wonderful that and I look at artists. I mean, well, all of us. If we can stay dedicated to our craft, and sometimes it's a struggle in the beginning, but over time it pays off. Yes. And so I am proud of you for continuing to stick with something that you enjoy, and you call it work. It's art.
Yeah. It's definitely a work of art. It's definitely a labor of love. So,
do you have a piece that you're most proud of?
A piece that I'm most proud of, honestly, I would probably have to say one of these three. The first, second, and then the last. They're really just a very good. They're a good reminder of me of what I can do and how I can always grow, and how each time it gets a little bit better.
Wonderful. Maurice, I am so glad. Maurice Andreas.
Thank you.
Illustrator and artist. Thank you so very much for being with us, for sharing your journey and your art. I appreciate it, and wish you much success, and hopefully we'll be talking soon.
I'm sure we will. Thank you so much.
All righty. Have a great day.
All right, Denise. Take care.
Okay. So we're going to move next. I am excited that I can bring on Richard Elliott, who covers Prince George's County for us, for the Washington Informer, but a great sports enthusiast as well, who's bringing on, a great guest. So Richard, take it away.
Thank you for having me, Miss Denise. I'm rocking my Henry Aaron Braves jersey, so I can welcome a very special guest, a very special Duvalian, alum of the same high school as me, Mr. Dwayne Sims, who runs the Negro League Legend Hall of Fame, who's situated with a wonderful background. How are you doing, Mr. Sims?
Thank you. Good morning. How you all doing? Or good afternoon now.
Hey,
good morning on the West Coast. Good afternoon on the East Coast. My pleasure.
The first question I have for you, for anybody who's listening, you have above your head Negro League Legends Hall of Fame. Please tell us about your organization, what you do, and where you've been around the country.
Well, actually, it was just interesting how I even created this. I got on a journey years ago going to Alabama and going to some of the local history here in the nation's capital of Negro League. But my curiosity was where the players are. So through that, I met a young lady working at a store named Mamie Peanut Johnson, played for the Indianapolis Clowns, which is the same team that your jersey with Hank Aaron used to play on the Indianapolis for a short period of time. But Connie Morgan and Tony Stone also played for the team. Tony Stone actually became the shortstop that Hank Aaron used to play on the Indianapolis Clowns. So with this journey, I didn't realize that beyond the Negro League was the Colored Professional League. So my foundation, actually, I'm a collector of artifacts. I brought at least 60 of the Negro League players here. And then I was shocked. I came upon this collection of the Colored Professional League. And that leads us up to Rube Foster, Andrew Rube Foster.
All right, so for a lot of folks, they might not know Major League Baseball as it is currently, but for a lot of these Negro League players, people would have no clue. I wanted to originally ask you who'd be your starting lineup of all Negro League players ever,
I have it.
but let's ask about
Go
ones
ahead.
that you've met. Put together a lineup just of players that you've met.
Wow. So here's the thing about it is, I definitely got to mention one of the players I didn't realize who didn't that has a lot of impact on the history, the founder of the Negro National League, and that's William Doug Foster, the descendant of Rube Foster. Meaning is most of the players that I've got to meet, they played in the later years, but Ted Double Duty Radcliffe, he lived to be 102 years old, brought him here to the nation's capital and had a birthday celebration with him. And that famous picture of him tagging, wearing his uniform with Josh Gibson coming into home plate, and you see that movement. And I had him sign that picture. So Ted Double Duty Radcliffe, he pitched and caught at the same time. And talking to him, even my grandson, when he was 95 years old, got to sit in his lap, and I took a picture of it. That's what we talk about, capturing history, why it happens.
And Double Duty, I wrote about him in the article about where I talk with you about the game. He had 6 All-Star games as a pitcher and 6 as a it's either 6 or 3, but half of them he did as a pitcher, half of them he did as a catcher.
Yes.
And those are arguably 2 of the most difficult positions in all of American sports.
That is correct. That is correct. And to know that at 100 years old, he was still driving a vehicle. And featured in Sports Illustrator.
And
so some of the rare things that they don't talk about. So when we talk about Ted Double Duty Radcliffe, one of the things that is major, and we always find this in the African American community, Black community, Negro community, prior to that colored community, is that he actually sold one of the first contracts for a ball player, and he split the money. So there are a lot of things that we have done in the past. History repeats itself, but what we need is history to repeat what has already taken place that we didn't have knowledge of, did exist. 5 women actually owned or managed Negro League teams.
Talk about history. You're bringing me to the present and a major issue of concern that people in baseball have talked about. This year, there were tons of rule changes. There's an all-time high, not an all-time, but there's a recent trend upwards in popularity. But there is a lack of representation, not of Black players, but of Black American players.
That's correct.
And what do you think the MLB can do to address this? I think the financial rules are one of the biggest impediments. Many people think that in baseball, like in basketball or football, you don't become a free agent till 6 years of service.
Yes.
6 years of service. And your the first 3 years, you're guaranteed a $70,000 contract at best.
That's right.
What do you think MLB can do to bring more Black American players into the game and keep us represented well in a sport where we are a major part of the history?
I think one of the things is we're trying to have these younger kids start in the Little League playoffs. I was a Cal Ripken. I even threw out the first pitch at one of the teams international. I think it was Korea against Japan. And when I looked at these kids, I was like, nobody looked like me in the next generation. I have actually attempted to sponsor some youths, but it's like $1,000, $1,500, even $2,500 to join a traveling team. What makes baseball unique is that you got to have your bat, your glove, your cleats, 3 bats. And when you start adding up that compared to football, you get provided your uniform. You go out there and you buy some cleats. Basketball, you got a basketball to bounce around. So that's one of the pieces there right now, the financial burden for this extra sport. And basically, when I go out around the nation's capital, where do I see our kids playing on the field? A proper field. We have the new academy in DC, which is great. It's a start. But I think what it is that if we take time out and we have people in the community to get involved, it's the equipment. That's one of the things. And also the knowledge is baseball players make the biggest contract, $300 million. Come on now. And then we don't have many owners. Was one of the items there. And then when we look at a lot of the Major League Baseball players that have played and retired, where are they? So we have I think, a responsibility within our community sometimes to make change. Sometimes we have to do something about it. So that's why I rent the Bay Sox Stadium every year, give all the tickets away free. Our young people get an opportunity, 18 years and above, to finally walk into a stadium that maybe in the future they will play. And we've had 2 kids that played at 18. I want to call them out. They play in Major League Baseball now. So I think the exposure and experience and even the support, I've had a lot of support from Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Parks and Recs, which is we need more partnerships to expose our kids to the game. Go ahead.
And we have a few success stories coming out of Maryland recently. Brian Reynolds on the Pittsburgh Pirates, who's on track to be a superstar. He's from Maryland.
Yes.
James Wood, who got traded to the Nationals for Juan Soto, he's from Maryland. Those are black baseball players coming from our home state. Well, you're going to have an event on Sunday. I'm going to be there. Can you make sure people know when and how to get there and what's going to happen?
Actually, it's all closed out. Actually, I do annually bowling. I won't give the plates up. And what I do is I also support Bowie State University's women CIAA champion this past year. And I've been doing that for 2 or 3 years. And I'm also an advocate for women in sports. So I will have a fundraiser, which I'll see you there. And what I do is I rent the whole bowling alley. And this is some of the experience for our young kids to participate in their family. Nobody has to pay. It's free. Even when I do the Bay Sox event, I donate 5,000 tickets. It's not about bragging. It's that I make it available with my partnership free. And I think if we have more experience of free events, will help our kids. But also I have a young lady that's involved in cycling, rodeo, village. I won't drop any names now because I always need permission to drop names. But we'll definitely make sure you get involved and have communication with them.
All right, I got to thank you. This is Stu Duval Tigers signing off. Mr. Denise, you can jump back in, and I will see you on Sunday. You get to see how bad I am at bowling.
And one thing I got to say is that Wilhelmina Roloff was one of my mentors. Denise, I'm telling you, your family, you don't know how people impact your life. And I'm a Freeman Hospital baby. Be clear. I love my nation's capital.
All right. Thank you. So glad to hear that. Great interview. Great commercial for the product with there, Richard. Hopefully they'll sponsor the whatever. But anyway, Dwayne, thank you for being with us, and good luck. Keep sharing that history.
Hats off to the lady.
All righty. Okie doke. Right. Richard, thank you. Great interview.
Oh, thank you. I love the opportunity. I love talking with people who went to my school, and I want to continue to raise awareness of a lack of representation in a major American sport.
Right, and we got to do that. I'm so glad. I like that, and definitely enjoy that conversation. I can tell a lot about it. It's good to have somebody that can really address the concerns that we ought to have, because we got to talk about it, from our perspective. So. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Fun fact, he said that baseball players get the biggest contract, $35 million for 10 years as contracts that some people are getting. The highest paid NFL player are not getting that. There's multiple people in the major leagues getting that.
See, nobody told me that, Richard. I used to be the third base player on our girls recreation team when I was a kid growing up. I loved, softball. It wasn't baseball, but who knew?
Yeah, we're going to try and get more about it, because right now the Orioles are going through fantastic times. The Nationals are going through a very interesting rebuild. Washington and Maryland sports is in maybe the most interesting place it's been in a decade, if not longer.
Wow. All right. And we're talking about we didn't mention, we're talking about baseball. I also think while we got a minute, we need to give a shout out to our women's basketball team here in DC, the Mystics.
Yes, made the playoffs again, right?
Yeah. So hopefully we can get talk about that sometime soon, and just, what our home teams are doing and how we can continue. We're excited about the Commanders, but there's a lot to be excited about. The Go-Go's are getting ready to start playing again sometime soon. We've got an arena right here in Southeast DC that's available, and folks are showing up. So a lot of great sports in Washington.
Absolutely. I'm signing off. Thank you, Miss Denise Rolock Barnes. This is Win TV.
All righty. Thank you, Richard. So now we're going to actually share with you a pre-recorded video with U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock, who spoke to our senior reporter, Stacey Brown, and also our contributing writer, Austin Cooper. And it's a very interesting interview. We're going to wrap the show with that. I just want you all to know that you can see the entire interview on our YouTube channel. So we want you to go to Washington Informer TV. That's all one word, Washington Informer TV, and see this entire interview. We're going to show a brief segment of it. We also want you to know that you can see us next week at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. We will have a booth there, and we hope that you'll drop by, pick up one of the issues. They're going to be in all of the convention bags if you registered, and get a chance to meet and greet some of our dynamic, fearless reporters and our editor and others, photographers. So we'd love to see you there, as well as at the 8th Street Festival tomorrow. We will be there on 8th Street from 12 to 7 p.m. So continue to do that. Be sure to check out the Washington Informer's Facebook and IG pages for live interviews and coverage from the CBCF ALC conference next week, September 20th through the 22nd. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the interview with U.S. Senator Ralph Warnock, Stacey Brown, and Austin Cooper. And having said that, I meant to say also, let you know that we will be broadcasting live from the Congressional Black Caucus next week. So make sure you join us and see some of the folks that will have a chance to interview in person from our booth at the Washington Convention Center. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy this conversation.
The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation has opened registration for the 52nd Annual Legislative Conference, which will be held from September 20th to the 24th, I should say, at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center in D.C., with Delegate Stacey Plaskett and Senator Raphael Warnock serving as honorary co-chairs. The conference's theme: securing our democracy, protecting our freedoms, uplifting our cultures. Joining Austin Cooper and myself this morning, special guest, the senator himself, Reverend Raphael Warnock. How you doing, sir?
It's great to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Senator, we'll jump right into it. Given the theme of this year's conference, securing our democracy, protecting our freedoms, uplifting our culture, what specific initiatives or policies do you believe are crucial in achieving these goals, particularly in the context of current challenges facing our democracy?
Again, great to be here with you. We are very proud to present this year's 52nd annual conference. The Congressional Black Caucus, I believe, when the history of our country is written, will be recognized for the central role it has played in securing our freedoms, in protecting our democracy, in uplifting the ways in which a culture defined by the struggle against oppression has been so important for liberating the whole country. And there's certainly no more important moment than this. This is a moral moment in our country. We are literally witnessing an assault on the democratic principles that make us a free country. And the fact that someone like me got elected from the state of Georgia, a state in the heart of the old Confederacy, is good news, but it should not lull us into sleep, into thinking that we have arrived. We have a great struggle in front of us with protecting voting rights. I was in a fierce struggle to secure the voices of the very people who sent me back to the Senate for a full 6-year term. So we'll be focused on voting rights. We'll be focused on protecting our various other rights, civil rights, human rights. And we will be bringing together a wonderful constellation of policymakers and critical thinkers, elected officials, and ordinary citizens to make our country as great as its ideals.
Yeah, and Senator, before I throw it over to Austin, I know Austin's chomping at the bit. It's always a privilege to talk to you. Can you share some highlights or key sessions that are planned for the conference that you believe might have a more significant impact, particularly on the African-American community at large?
Well, there are a whole range of sessions reflective of the work that we're doing right here in Congress. Everything, again, from protecting our democracy and protecting voting rights to dealing with the need to cap the cost of prescription drugs to make sure that people have access to affordable health care, which I believe is a human right, to dealing with the issue of gun violence. I will do a conference on Wednesday afternoon focused on the issue of gun violence and gun safety. We have seen in our country this year a mass shooting every day. In fact, there have been more mass shootings this year than there have been days in this year. And that's not counting the ongoing crisis of violence that takes the lives of way too many people in Black and brown communities every single year. And so I'm proud to welcome hip hop artists from Atlanta, Quavo, along with one of our grassroots organizations focused on this work, and my colleague in the House, Representative Lucy McBath, who tragically lost her son to racialized gun violence many years ago, which spurred her entrance really into public life. It's important for us to have a family conversation in America about gun violence, and I'm looking forward to my own workshop on Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, and we know Austin, he mentioned Quavo. He lost a very significant loved one to senseless gunplay, if you will, gun violence, if you will. I'll throw it to you, Austin.
Senator, good to see you, sir. Senator, how has the ALC evolved since its inception, and the Legislative Conference since its inception, and how has it evolved since you have been in the Senate, sir?
Well, I'm one of the newcomers, but I stand with a deep sense of pride. I'm deeply honored to stand on the shoulders of the folks who were here in the early days, who paved the way, including my own parishioner, John Lewis, as well as others who were here before him. But that work continues. As I think about John Lewis, I think about the fact that we, in those early days of the conference, the Congressional Black Caucus was key to making sure that we reauthorized time and time again the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Those struggles continue as I have been very focused on making sure that we pass, and we intend to introduce again the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, as well as the Freedom to Vote Act. And so this is a relay race, and it's our turn to stand up for the values that make our country great.
Yeah, well, and Senator, it's certainly, again, we just want to say it's a privilege to have you with the Black Press and the Washington Informer. Healthcare, education, and economic empowerment are vital components of the conference's agenda. Can you discuss some of the innovative approaches or policy recommendations that will be explored? Any surprises during the week? We always get some surprises.
Well, if I tell you that it's not a surprise, I want to encourage everybody to come to the conference. I mean, this is a conference that never disappoints. We bring together the best and the brightest, not just elected officials, but people who are activists at the grassroots level, who help us to understand the work that we must do on everything from voting rights to healthcare to gun violence to creating jobs and opportunity in communities all across our country. the message is this: look, federal policy makes a difference. Elections matter. Here I stand as a United States senator, but before I was a senator, I was a Head Start kid. Head Start, for example, a program that gives young preschool age kids access to the kind of learning that they need, that both instructs and inspires. I'm a product of Upward Bound, of Pell Grants and low interest student loans, which is why I've been so focused on addressing the issue of student debt. Too many of our kids have a mortgage before they have a mortgage. And we know that Black people and people of color are disproportionately impacted by this. The data is very, very clear. If we can relieve some of the student debt, which the administration has made quite a bit of progress on, particularly when you think about the ways in which that fight has been enjoined by those who apparently don't want equity in our country. If we can get more of that done, it would begin to close the racial wealth gap. And all of this at a time when we're seeing an assault on affirmative action in the higher ed space. The question is, will we be two different Americas? Or will we push the country towards its ideals, e pluribus unum, out of many? One, a nation where a kid's outcome is not based on their parents' income. And the Congressional Black Caucus has always been central to that fight. I'm proud to be a part of that caucus, proud to do that work. And we look forward to the conversation each year, because we understand that change doesn't happen from the top down, it happens from the bottom up. And so faith leaders, activists, grassroots folks, parents, ordinary people, folks who are interested in securing our democracy, in protecting our freedoms, including reproductive rights, and interested in uplifting the culture that inspires all of us to keep fighting the fight. Let's come together and have one more great conversation, one more great family reunion.